Okay. So at this point, the hostess has introduced me. Okay. And let me make sure my system works here. Okay, before I get started. Okay, so at this point, I've been introduced by the host. In 3, 2, 1. Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate your hospitality. I really, really appreciate it. Go ahead and have a seat. Well, my name is John Pyron, and I'm the Master Sales Trainer for Eric Lofholm Home International. I lead a team of 125 sales trainers all around the world in the art of sales training and coaching and consulting. Let me ask you a quick question. How many of you in here have sales systems in place right now? By a show of hands. Fantastic. How many of you are achieving mind-blowing success from those systems? Awesome. Awesome. How many of you are wondering if playing the lottery twice a week is a winning system for financial success? I know, me neither. Well, before I get started, let me share with you a quick story. There was a preacher who used to travel all throughout the Midwest in the late 1800s. And he would travel from town to town and throw up this tent, and on Sunday afternoon at 12 o'clock, he would have an amazing, amazing speech. And every single town that he went to, the crowd got bigger and bigger and bigger until he came to this one town. And he did absolutely every single thing that he's always done, with the exception of one thing. This time, nobody showed up. 10 minutes later, after his speech was supposed to start, still nobody had showed up. And finally, about 10 more minutes later, one lone cowboy comes riding down the street there, hitches his horse to the stake, and is ready to hear the amazing speech. The preacher's beside himself. He does not know what to do. He comes running off stage. He goes, "Cowboy, cowboy, cowboy, I have never had this happen before. Every single town I go to, it's always a packed house. What should I do?" Cowboy shrugs his shoulders and says, "I have no idea. I'm just a cowboy. But I tell you this, if I went out to feed my herd and only one showed up, I'd feed it." Cowboy said, "You know what?" The preacher says, "You know what? You're absolutely right." Jumps back up on stage, and for the next 3.5 hours gives one of the most amazing talks he's ever given in his entire life. He is so fired up and sweating and breathing heavy, he comes running off stage. He goes, "Cowboy, cowboy, wasn't that an amazing talk? My gosh, that was the best speech I've ever given. What do you think?" Cowboy, looking exhausted, basically said, "You know what, man? I have no idea. I'm just a cowboy. I already told you that. But I tell you what, if I went out to feed my herd and only one showed up, I'd feed it. But I wouldn't dump the whole load on it." And so I'm not going to dump the whole load on you here today. What I am going to talk about is a couple of different things. Number one is I'm going to share with you 3 ways to increase your sales results. Who in here would like to increase their sales results? You bet. Next, I'm going to share with you 3 key systems that I use to grow any business. In fact, Eric Lofholm, my mentor, has taken these 3 key systems and has absolutely mastered teaching and training to teach people how to master these 3 disciplines. Lastly, we're going to talk about, in fact, the very last idea I'm going to share with you today could be that one single breakthrough you've been looking for, and I'm going to talk about how you can get yourself to take massive action on a daily basis. But before I get started, let me share a little bit about my background. Because anytime I hear anybody speak, whether, if I'm at a seminar or on a conference call or a webinar, there's always, I don't know about you, but there's always three questions going through my mind. Number one is, who is this guy or gal? Number two, why do I care to listen to them? And number three, what's in it for me? And so let me share a little bit about my background so you can kind of see how what I'm going to share with you today, not only can I relate to you, not only have I probably been there and done a lot of the stuff that you're doing right now or thinking about doing in business, but I'm going to share with you also some failures and some things that I did to overcome those failures and overcome those obstacles to ultimately achieve success again. How many of you in here have ever faced some obstacles in your life? You bet. You bet. Well, I was born at a very early age. Kind of like some of you, right? And so, in a very small, family-oriented town known as Dallas, Texas. And long story short, I moved to California in the early 80s, ultimately to Sacramento in 1989. But what's interesting is prior to moving to Sacramento, at age 17 and a half, I was so ticked off of being controlled by my parents that I decided to move out on my own. And 2 months later, found myself homeless. How many of you in here have ever been homeless? No one. Okay, so just so you know, can it get any worse than homeless? No, it can't, right? And so no matter what circumstances you've had, nobody raised their hands in here about being homeless, so I think I've had the worst situation. And so this is exciting because there's a lot of you that whatever challenges you're going through, I can definitely relate to. In fact, I got so frustrated that I ended up joining the military and serving our country for about 8 years. And it was that experience that helped change my life. It helped make me into the man that I am today with the discipline that I have and the work ethic. And so when I met this guy right here, a guy named Dave Vanny, I met Dave Vanny in December of 1990. And ultimately started coaching with him one-on-one in 1996. And it was through that coaching experience that I ended up landing one of my very first real sales jobs. I had a lot of sales, odd-end sales jobs, sales guy for 2 months or 3 months, and never succeeded because I didn't really know how to sell. I was an engineer. I worked at Hewlett-Packard. And in the early 90s, I don't know if any of you remember it or not, there was a recession going on. And I just couldn't find any work. And so I responded to ads like salary plus free training. Okay? And I liked the free training aspect because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to sell. But the other thing, it said a word in there called salary. And that was very appealing to me because I had some habits, like sleeping indoors, like eating food, right? Any of you have habits like that? Exactly. And so when you're hungry, right, and you've been homeless, the last thing you want to do is be homeless again, okay? And so I responded to any ad and every ad. I didn't care if I only worked there for a month. And in most cases, most of the jobs I had up until the time I met Dave, they were very short-lived jobs because I didn't know what I was doing. And I remember connecting with Dave, and we hit it off right away. Dave, at the time, was a multi-millionaire in the network marketing business. And Dave taught me how to contact people. He taught me how to generate leads. He taught me how to set appointments. He taught me a lot of discipline around sales. That sales wasn't this, crazy thing. I mean, think about it. What did most of you think of when you think of a salesperson? Be honest. What do you think of when you think of a salesperson? Anybody? Go ahead and shout it out. Fast talker, slick, right? Lying, manipulator, right? Isn't that what most people think of when they think of a salesperson? Well, how about you? Let me ask you an honest question. Honestly, deep down inside, when somebody says salesperson, do you find that you have a resistance to that word? I know I did for a long time. And if that's how you feel, I want you to know right now that it's not your fault. And here's why it's not your fault, is because if you think about our society trains and coaches us and teaches us to resist salespeople, right? You've all been there. You're sitting there at the dinner table, 6 o'clock at night, all of a sudden, ring, ring. Some guy answers the phone on the other line and goes, yeah, Mr. Pyron, this is Joe Smith from Esquire magazine, and I want you to buy 65 years of subscription from us. We've all been there, right? Okay? Isn't that what most of us think of when we think of a salesperson or the used car guy, right? And so, with all that negativity growing up, how could it be our fault? But I want you to know this. If you're in business, which you're at a small business administration event, right? So if you're in business, that means you need to learn how to sell. And if you have any resistance to selling, I want you to know that can have a negative impact on your presentation and on your results. But here's the good news. Let me teach you real quick, and I'll get back into a little bit about my story. But let me teach you a really quick principle that will help you right now let go of any resistance that you have to sales and help you embrace selling. Who in here would like to learn how to let go of their resistance to sales and make more money selling? You bet. And so Napoleon Hill, in his book Think and Grow Rich, taught a principle in there in chapter 4, I believe, called autosuggestion. Basically what it means is if you say something to yourself over and over and over and over again, it will change patterns in your brain and ultimately change your perception of whatever it is that you're trying to change. Because in reality, perception is our personal reality. And so maybe you're like me. You grew up. I grew up in a family, we didn't have salespeople. My mother was a waitress. My dad was a tow truck driver. I was an engineer at Hewlett-Packard. I did not like salespeople. And I had a very negative attitude towards salespeople. And maybe that's you. And so let me give you a new definition for sales. And I can thank my mentor, Eric Lofholm, for this. Eric Lofholm, I'll get into who Eric is here in a minute, but Eric has one of the fastest growing training companies in the world today. And one of the things he taught me, and now I get the privilege of sharing with hundreds of people all around the world, is a new definition of sales. So tell me what you think about this. Selling equals service. Sell from honesty, integrity, and compassion. Selling is about leading. Selling is about moving people to action. Let me say it again so you can write it down. Selling equals service. Sell from honesty, integrity, and compassion. Selling is about leading. Selling is about moving people to action. Let's say it one more time. And everybody join in. Let's get one rep in before we go. Selling equals service. Sell from honesty, integrity, and compassion, right? Selling is about leading. Selling is about moving people to action. Now that you've got it written down, here's the magic move. I want you to say that out loud to yourself or in front of the mirror 10 times a day for the next 30 days. Who in here, by a show of hands, think that would be a good idea? You bet. How many of you in here are committed to say this out loud or to yourself 10 times a day for the next 30 days by a show of hands? Awesome. See, Brian Tracy, who in here knows who Brian Tracy is? You bet. Brian Tracy says you're 10 times more likely to follow through and take action. And so that's where I found myself. When I met Dave, I had a huge resistance to sales. And like Eric Lofholm, Dave had his definition of sales as well. But he taught me how to not have a resistance in sales, and ultimately I ended up landing my very first long-term sales job in January of 2007 as a result of coaching with Dave. And one of the things I learned, okay, I was back in the 90s. Who in here remembers Michael Jordan? Right? Chicago Bulls, right? Those were the heyday. Well, one of the things that separated Michael Jordan is he had an incredible desire to get better. Okay? And I took that same attitude and I started working with Dave and I submitted my ego. That was the hardest thing I had ever had to do at that point. And I submitted my ego with Dave, and I learned from him, and I changed my attitude as it relates to sales. And what ended up happening is I ended up becoming number one in that company. And then I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this, but they changed the game rules on me. I remember Don. His name was Don, right? And he came to me in late January of 2003. And he said, John, you know what? You're doing a great job. You know, when I came on board of that company, they were doing $500,000 a year. I took over as vice president of sales and built that company up to $6.5 million. And he comes to me and he goes, you know what, John? Your sales compensation plan is screwed up. And I said, what are you talking about? I don't make a salary or anything. I make a straight 2%. Well, yeah, but you made a lot of money last quarter and the company lost money. How many of you ever have had a boss come to you and have a conversation about your income that they don't like your income all of a sudden and it needs to change? How many of you have ever had that happen in here besides me? And so I decided that it was time for John to move on. I went and got another job at a different company, still coaching with Dave, and it took me about 2 months to become number one at that company. And the same damn thing happened. They changed the compensation plan on me. And I finally had enough. I was ticked off. Okay? And so I remember the next company I went to, I thought, okay, I have arrived. This, and my friends all the time were telling me, you should go start your own business, you should go start your own business, you should go start your own business. I said, no, I don't want to start my own business. Okay, I had fear. I was wanting a paycheck. How many of you in here that have just started your business understand what I'm talking about? To start your own business, you're giving up what you perceive as security with that paycheck. And I was not yet ready, and so I decided, hey, I'm going to go and interview, and I found a company that was willing to let me design my own comp plan, design it all from scratch. I created programs for their company that had not yet existed. And within 2 months, I sold more stuff for that company than I had sold the previous year. I mean, I made that company a lot of money. I went to get paid on December 14th, and my check was $6,200 short. How many of you ever here have ever been shorted a paycheck? Yeah, exactly. Right? I remember sitting down with the owner, a guy named Mitch. We had a long conversation and a lot of disagreement, and finally he reached over the table and he says to me, you know what, John? You and I have a difference of opinion about how sales reps should be paid. And I'll never forget that day as long as I live. It was like almost like a snap in my mindset. It was like, hey, I'm done. I called up a guy, Mike, who I'd been coaching with for years. Never had to pay him anything because he had always been the representative for the companies I had worked for in the past. But at that point, I was ready to hire him. And I hired him as my business coach, and I said, I need you to form me a company. And within 2 weeks, I was gone from that place, and I had one goal in mind. and that was to achieve this right here. I wanted to end up in the center page as a featured article in the Sacramento Business Journal in the fastest growing companies list. In this particular year, we were number 26. The year prior to that, we were number 10. And I remember borrowing $10,000 from my mother-in-law, being absolutely ticked off, coaching with Dave, coaching with Mike, doing whatever they told me to do. And I built that company from a $10,000 loan to $1 million in 3 years and maintained that volume for 3 more years. Now, why do I share this? Because it's not about me here today. What it is, remember I told you I was homeless? Remember I told you my mother was a waitress, my dad was a tow truck driver? Okay? When I was at this point, I was bringing in, a 5-6-figure income a month into my own pocket. So I went from being homeless to making a huge 6-figure income. And how did it happen? It's because I had a dream, I had a purpose, and I had the right mentors and coaches. And every single one of you sitting here today, have that same opportunity. And so I want you to know that what I'm about to share with you, it is very possible that you're going to get a breakthrough in your mindset that can result in a permanent change in the way that you sell. What created that breakthrough for me was when I met this guy. A guy named Eric Lofholm. And Eric Lofholm, for those of you that do not know who Eric Lofholm is, Eric Lofholm started working for Tony Robbins. Who in here knows who Tony Robbins is? You bet. Everybody does, right? Okay, Mr. Motivation, Walk on Fire, that sort of thing, right? Well, Eric went to work for Tony Robbins 20 years ago. And through coaching and mentoring with Tony Robbins himself, Eric became the #1 sales trainer in the world for Tony Robbins. He did that for 3 years. He ran 850 front-of-the-room talks for Tony Robbins. And out of that experience, he started Eric Lofholm International. And what's very interesting about that story is Tony Robbins Corporation hired Eric back for 2 years, and he personally trained and coached every single one of their sales trainers in the field. And that says a lot about a company when they hire somebody back like that. So the reason I share this with you is Eric Lofholm, for all of you here, because you're in Citrus Heights here today, and you're business owners and salespeople, right? Eric Lofholm's local to you. He's right here in Rockland, California. Now, here's a book, and don't go out and buy it yet, okay? So for those of you that got mobile devices, don't be going on Kindle right now and buying this book, because I brought 10 of these here today that I'm going to raffle off at the end of my talk. Okay, so one of the things you want to get ready is when I'm done with my talk, you want to bring back your business card and put it back at that back table. In fact, I tell you what, during the time I'm talking, the first 10 people that go back there and handle that book, I'm going to give you a second book also. So you feel free while I'm talking today to go get up and just go back there and give your card to Mark back there. Okay? So this book got launched in November of 2013. It's been consistently in the top 10 on Amazon. It's one of the highest read books in sales right now. And I highly recommend, whether you win it today with the raffle or not, get this book and absolutely master this book. Next is you want to go and sign up for the #1 sales magazine in the world right now. This thing's in over 95 countries. Okay, Eric is an absolute master when it comes to teaching, training, coaching, and making people masters in sales. For me personally, I have 2 purposes in life. #1, help business owners like yourselves dominate your market space. I do that through one-on-one coaching and other methods. #2 is salespeople, working with Eric, helping salespeople become #1 in their industry. Because let's face it, unless you're #1, unless you're the lead dog in the pack, let's face it, the view is always the same, right? And so ask yourself this question: are you satisfied with the view that you currently have? Now here's the cool thing. I got two outcomes for my talk today. Number one is I'm going to share with you some ideas that if you go out and implement, will change and revolutionize your business, your life, and your sales forever. You learn the skill once and you get the benefit of it forever. Next is I'm going to give away some free stuff at the end of my talk today. Who in here likes free stuff? You bet. You bet. Now, like I said, some of the ideas I'm going to share with you today could be that breakthrough you're looking for. But I got one goal and one goal in mind. And that is for each one of you to have a breakthrough in your mindset that will result in a permanent change in the way that you sell. And so with that, let's hop right on into the content. There's basically 3 ways to increase your sales results. There's probably 25,000 ways, but can you implement 25,000? You can't. But you can implement 3, right? How many of you can implement 3? You bet. Let me share with you the first, the inner game. Now, I want you to know this. You can take this principle. Let me teach you a real quick principle. Principles in business and in life are timeless. They never change. Practices, how you do things, maybe you contact somebody a certain way today. Maybe you contact them a different way the other day. Practices are timely. So principles are timeless. Practices are timely. So when I talk about the inner game, you can apply this to sales. You can apply this to business. You can apply this to a relationship with your spouse or your significant other. You can apply this to a relationship with your kids. Pretty much any aspect of your life, the 3 principles I'm going to share with you right now can apply to any aspect of your life. But because I'm here to talk about sales, let's focus on that. So we're going to talk about the inner game of selling and how you have the proper mindset, your attitude. What is your motivation when you get up in the morning? Let me share with you a really good, I want every single one of you to go out to YouTube, not right now, but after, later on today, and I want you to get a video by a lady named Mel Robbins. Just like Tony Robbins, except it's Mel Robbins. 23-minute video. It's a TED Talk. It's one of the most powerful videos on mindset I've ever seen in my life. I probably have watched it almost 30 times. And it will make a big difference in your mindset. But I'm going to share with you some ideas here that are going to add value to that as well. Next, we're going to talk about the outer game. And these will be your systems, your database systems. In fact, I'm going to share with you a principle today, an idea, something I learned from Eric that he taught me that I will be able to use for the rest of my life to make changes any time I want. How many of you would like to learn a system that will benefit you for the rest of your life? Lastly, and here's the bottom line, here's the hardest part of the whole thing. We're going to talk about taking action. Because at the end of the day, you can have the best mindset on the planet. You can have the mindset of Zig Ziglar. You can have the mindset of a Tony Robbins. You can have the mindset of Gandhi. And you can have systems in place like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and all these very successful people. You can have the best systems and the best mindset, but if you can't get your butt to take action, you're going to miss the boat. And so we're going to talk about how you get yourself to take massive action. In fact, the very last idea that I'm going to share with you today could make all the difference in the world. So I am literally saving the best for last. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the inner game. We can't have a conversation about the inner game without talking about mindset. And one of the mindsets of a champion is that there's always room to grow. How many of you in here, by a show of hands, would agree with that statement? How many of you in here believe that you have potential inside of you right now to perform at a higher level than the level you're currently performing at? By a show of hands. Me too. You bet. We all have room to grow. And one of the best stories I've ever heard about mindset is about the great Michael Jordan. Who in here does not know who Michael Jordan is? Everybody does, right? One of the best basketball players of all times. He is responsible for me falling in love with basketball. And one of the true stories about Michael Jordan is about mindset and about his constant desire to always want to improve and grow. And one of the true stories is every single summer during the off season, he would pick one aspect of his game. Not 25, one aspect. And here's what he would do. And you all can do the same thing. He would find and hire the best coaches and the best trainers to work with one-on-one. And through that process, he would focus on one aspect of his game. So one summer he'd focus on his left hand. And that's all he would do the entire summer is focus on that left hand. The next summer, he'd pick a different aspect. So the next summer he'd pick his strength training. Now let me ask you a question. The people that helped him focus on the left hand, can they be masters at helping him focus on his strength training? Yes or no? Right? Maybe so, right? And so he'd hire different coaches, different trainers, maybe to work with the same people. And he would focus on his strength training. That's all he would do the entire summer is focus on his strength training. And it was that discipline, it was that focus, it was that constant desire of always wanting to improve that made Michael Jordan great. Well, what about you? That's Michael Jordan, but let's face it, what about you? And here's a question I have for you. What is your one thing? As I've been talking about Michael Jordan, there's probably something. You know it. We all know it. There is one thing that you know you need to change. You know you need to improve. What is it? Okay? Raise your hand if you know what your one... I'm not going to call on you and ask you to share it. But raise your hand if you know one thing that you could focus on and have a really good improvement. Fantastic. Give yourselves a round of applause. Now, do this exercise with me. I want you to close your eyes. Close your eyes. Okay? Nobody's going to mug you. Okay? Close your eyes. And here's what I want you to picture. It's 3 months from now. You have just finished working with the best coach or trainer that you could find. And you have focused on that one thing. And now you are 10 times better at that one thing. Everybody have that picture? Now go ahead and open your eyes. So here's the secret. What is standing in your way to have that result? See, there's nothing else I can share with you today that's more important than this right here. If you commit, when you leave here, that you're going to go out and you're going to find a coach, you're going to go find a mentor to work with one-on-one, and you're going to start getting serious about that one area of your life, and you're going to take action. I know it's scary. Okay? I know that there's a resistance. Anytime we're going to do something new, let's face it, there's a resistance. But if you take action on what I'm talking about, Can you imagine what's going to be different in your life? What is your confidence level going to be like? Maybe it's, how's it going to bleed over into your personal relationships? How much better are you going to feel about yourself? Because, see, you only have one life to live, and I got good news for you. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. You can literally draw a line right now. I'm giving every single one of you a permission, no matter what you came in here with today. I mean, I was homeless at one time, but I've also been on the top. And I've been knocked down from the top and have had to rebuild. And I'm telling you, no matter where you are in life right now, I've got great news for you. You can draw a line, you can create a clean slate, and you can walk out of here and find somebody to focus on certain areas of your life and make a difference. You only have one life to live. So that's the inner game. Let's talk about the outer game. And one of my favorite strategies, and I never knew there was an actual name for this, but when I started coaching and training with Eric Lofholm and getting close to him and taking on his coaching and his mentoring, he taught me a strategy called baseline strategy. And it's an outer game strategy, and it goes like this. Every single one of you in here have a baseline in terms of the results that you're producing. There's lots of different ways people measure results. If you're in the mortgage industry, you probably measure results in terms of escrows closed. If you're in the real estate business, you probably measure your results in the number of listings that you added to your portfolio that month. But let's just say you're a good old-fashioned business owner and salesperson, and you measure results in terms of money. Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to money, right? Right. So let's say you're earning $10,000 a month in income right now. I know that's not a lot to some of you. Some of you it is a lot. But let's say $10,000 is the income that you're earning right now. Your baseline would be the $10,000. What's also included in your baseline is every single thing that you did to accomplish the $10,000. The goal setting, the time management, the amount of phone calls you made, the number of new clients that you brought on. It's everything. And so here's the strategy. And this is perfect timing because today is May 29th. It's a Thursday. Tomorrow is the last business day of this month. And this strategy you can implement. In fact, I invite you. I have a Facebook group called Clean Slate Club. It's on Facebook. It's a free group to join. You can join us. There's nothing that gets sold on there. We just lead an inspiring message for an hour on the last day of every single month. And so I encourage you to all go there and join us this coming Saturday at 5 o'clock, where I'm going to have, actually what's interesting is perfect timing, Eric Lofholm is going to be our guest speaker this Saturday. So I invite you to come there. If you need information, just look me up on Facebook, befriend me, and I'll add you to the group. Okay, but the strategy is this. Continue to do what you've been doing because it's producing a positive result. Then you want to add something to your baseline that you're not already currently doing. And one of the easiest and best ways, the best advice I can give you, find somebody to coach with that can help you evaluate your sales, evaluate your business, and properly coach you on what you need to add. I'm right now building my 4th company. The last company, I built it to $1 million. I sold it on June 1st of last year. In fact, I got 2 days or 3 days before my non-compete is up, and look out, man. Okay? But this time last year, I sold that company for 4.5 times its valuation at the time. And then I got rid of my coach. I no longer needed my business coach because I was going to take a siesta for a little bit and coach and work with Eric and learn his systems. And now, last week, I went and hired my business coach again because my business is at a point where I need some coaching. Okay? And a lot of you here, you own your own companies, and you're not working with somebody. And you should go find somebody. I don't care whether it's me or anybody else. There's lots of coaches out there, and coaching is a personal fit. Okay, so you add something to your baseline, and as a result, you'll produce a better result. Let me tell you about one of our clients, a guy named Joey Osterbach. And Joey, like you, was in a seminar just like this, and he met Eric, heard Eric talk, came up and asked Eric if Eric would coach with him, and Eric agreed to coaching. And over a 6-month period of time, Eric showed Joey how to add 30 items to his baseline. He added a postcard marketing program. He added, he turned his website, really, hired one of the best web designers and turned that puppy into a lead generating machine. Started doing some great follow-up systems. And as a result, implemented about 30 items over a 6-month period of time. He went from $10,000 a month in income, actually to be precise, $10,500 in income, to over $32,000 a month. Why? Because of this strategy right here. So here's the magic move. This Saturday, be on the Clean Slate Club call. Find somebody you can coach and mentor with. Do this baseline strategy, and I guarantee you will see an increase in your results. Now, think about one thing right quick. What is one thing that you can add to your baseline? Whatever comes to your mind, go ahead and write that down real quick. And I want to give you something that you can add to your baseline right now. How many of you in here would like to have and receive more referrals? By a show of hands. Well, let me teach you a referral system that my mentor Eric Lofholm taught me. He's already used it to generate over 10,000 referrals over the last 15 years. I personally have used this to generate over 500 referrals myself. And it starts off with a form. And so this form right here, I'm not going to go into it a lot, but by the way, if you want a soft copy of this form, grab my business card off of the table after we're done, email me and say in the subject line, referral form, and I will gladly email you a copy of this form. But basically, it starts off with a form. You have a place for your prospects or clients to put their name, memory joggers, okay, what's specific to your industry, and then the place for them to give you the referrals. And the other thing I'm going to do for you is I'll send you the word-for-word script on how this whole thing goes. So basically, with the memory joggers, you need to explain to them. So you hand them a form to step 1. So it's a system. And we're going to hand them a form. And then we're going to educate them on what a good referral is for you. And so let me teach you this system while at the same time asking you for referrals. So here's how it goes. I look for, so I'm going to educate you right now on what a good referral is for me. So a good referral for me would be a sales manager that has a team of 6 or more salespeople located anywhere in the world. Because I can do a conference call, webinar, in front of the room talk. Next, you want to offer an incentive. Now, you got to be careful if you're in a financially or government regulated business, because you can get in trouble for certain types of incentives. Okay, so in my case, I always say, hey, here's what a referral is for me. When you think of a good referral, think of anybody in mortgage, real estate, solar, MLM. Think of salespeople, sales managers, etc. And then you offer them an incentive. So in my case, I would say to you, hey, if you took this form and you filled it out, and I'm telling all of you this right now, you take this form, whether you give it to me today, you give it to me 2 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, I will give you a gift card of your choice. And it will equal $25 for each referral. So you fill out the whole form, that's $100. Okay? Now, here's the key, and here's what most people miss on this type of system. You got to ask. You literally got to ask. I know it's tough. And so If I was talking to you one-on-one, I would simply say to you this: how would you feel about giving me a few referrals today? And you would say, yes, right? Okay. Anybody want to give me a referral, feel free to drop that form on the back of the table. I'll have a special gift for you. All right. We're coming into the home stretch, but I know we only got about an hour and 15 minutes, and we're looking like we're going to finish early. But let me share with you something really I think you're going to get a lot of value out of. And that is, we're all business owners here. We're all in sales. And we at Eric Law Firm International, we teach 3 key systems to grow any business. And I've built many businesses, and it literally comes down to 3 really good, strong key systems. Number 1 is lead generation systems. How do you generate leads? So if I was coaching you one-on-one, I would want to know what your lead generation systems are. How many of you in here have at least one lead generation system running by a show of hands? Excellent. Keep your hands up if you have 2. Keep your hands up if you have 3. 4. Okay, there's like 2 of you left. 5. Awesome. Give that gentleman a hand. Fantastic. In fact, you come up and see me afterwards. I'm going to give you a 1-hour coaching session one-on-one with me for free. Great job. Okay? For everyone else, let me share with you what I want you to do. Okay, I'm going to give them to you real quick. Okay? And write these down. POI strategy. Reciprocal referral relationship. Follow your money. LinkedIn direct messaging. Webinars, conference calls, front of the room talks, referrals, give away something for free, and one of my favorites is reverse prospecting. And then one that I created yesterday because I was coaching a business client, and this has got to be one of the most phenomenal lead generation systems I've ever thought of, especially if you're in my industry. And that is, I target specifically mortgage companies, real estate companies, and solar companies. And if you're in insurance, business insurance, health insurance, financial planning, if you're in real estate, mortgage, solar, this lead generation system is for you as well. If you go to these people's sites, they all want you to opt in to their deal, right? So I want you to go opt into their deal, and then you're going to sign up with a whole different email, Gmail. You're going to get flooded with email. You're going to come up with a reverse prospecting script. And you're going to say, hey, Joe, it was great. I got your email. It looks really interesting, Joe. I'm busy right now. But I tell you what. Here's a link to my calendar. Why don't you book a time for you and I to talk on Monday at 12? Guess what Joe's going to do when I send him that email? Joe's going to jump up and down, I got a lead, right? And he's going to book his own appointment with you. And then you get Joe on the line, and Joe's going to walk you through his sales process. And you're going to get to know Joe. Okay? And then you can reverse prospect Joe. The lead actually came to you. Okay? And if you want advanced clarity, so that's 10 lead generation systems I just gave you. Okay? If you need further clarification on that, or you want those in written form, just send me an email. I'll gladly send you a list of every single one of them. Next is you want to have an appointment setting system. Okay, what do you say specifically when you call up somebody to book an appointment? Not sell over the phone. Too many people try to sell over the phone without booking an appointment, and they miss the boat. And so what kind of system do you have in place to set an appointment? And an appointment is simply this. It's where you can get into a dialogue with your prospect where they have an opportunity to buy from you. Not sit around and shoot the breeze and how's the weather and what's your family like. No, at the end of your conversation, you're asking them to meet with you to have a specific conversation so you can then convert them into a sale. And so that leads into the last system that you really need to have tight, and that is your lead conversion system. And that leads us into one of the most important words in sales, and that's the word sequence. What do you systematically do in your sales process to lead and guide your prospect to buy from you? We're in Citrus Heights here. Everybody knows the Olive Garden right down the street here, right? Who in here is not familiar with the Olive Garden, or who in here is familiar with the Olive Garden? Okay? So what happens when you go into the Olive Garden? They give you that little coaster, right, that lights up. And in the one over here in Citrus Heights, there's a little bar that they have you sit down with, and you can order up your cocktail while you're waiting for that little buzzer to go off. The buzzer goes off, the waiter or waitress takes you to sit you down, and then the buzzer comes up and gives you water, and the hostess says, would you like some iced tea or some coffee? What would you like to drink? And then the waiter comes over and explains what the daily special is. He or she takes your order. Do you want super salad with that? The meal comes. When you're done with your meal, they bring the dessert tray, and then they bring you that bill with those green Andes mints in there. Isn't that what happens at the Olive Garden over here? Well, sales is just like that. It's a sequence. It's a process. They don't start off when you get into the Olive Garden and go, hey, how many in your party? 2? Okay, would you like a slice of cheesecake while you wait? No, they don't do that. They have a sequence. They have a process, and that's why they have multiple restaurants, because it's a system. And I'm going to teach you right now how to create a sales system in your business. Who in here, like I said in the very beginning of my talk today, how many of you have sales systems in place that are absolutely blowing your mind? And not a lot of you raised your hands. Well, after my conversation right now, you're going to be able to have sales systems in place that will blow your mind. Okay? This is one of the things that we teach at Eric Law Home. It's called the Sales Mountain. And at the bottom of the mountain on the left, it starts off with lead generation, appointment setting, trust and rapport, identifying a customer's needs, sharing the benefits, and closing. And we call objection handling elegantly dancing with the prospect. And over on the right-hand side below what we call the sweet spot is called follow-up. Now, we call the sweet spot because until I know exactly what my prospect wants, how can I possibly share with them the benefits of my product or service? Let me ask you a question. Have any of you ever in here been to a doctor's office? Of course. When you go into the doctor's office, what is the first thing they do besides take your money? They take your vitals, right? Nurse comes in and says, why are you here today? Where does it hurt? She gets the chart ready for the doctor. The doctor comes in, he looks in your mouth, and he looks in your ears, and he looks in your eyes, and he checks your heart, and he checks your lungs. And then he starts sitting down and he asks you some questions about what's going on, and only then does he prescribe something. Now, it doesn't mean it's the right thing, okay, which we all understand, right? But most doctors will do an evaluation, an interview, if you will, and that's what identifying customer needs were. And one of the things that I am so impressed with Eric Law Home is he has mastered a system for teaching people about sales process. And I'm not here to sell or even talk about that today, but if you ever want to have a conversation about that, you all have my email. Okay? Now here's some golden nuggets. Number one, sales is a sequence. Sales has a process. And it has a step-by-step process for getting a predictable result. And your job as a business owner, as a salesperson, is through coaching, training, and hard work, is to focus on improving each one of the steps in the process. How are you right now? Be honest with yourself. On a scale of 1 to 10, rate yourself really quickly in each one of these areas. On a scale of 1 to 10, lead generation, appointment setting, trust and rapport. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 and be honest. And here's the rule. If you scored a 6 or below, you need training and one-on-one coaching. Okay? And you want to pick up, see me after the talk today, and I'll give you some information that can help you out for free. Okay? All right, so we talked about the 3 ways to increase sales results. Number 1, inner game. Number 2, outer game. Now let's talk about action. And this is the final thought I want to share with you today, because this one action, this one principle right here, if you implement it, you will see an immediate result this afternoon in your business. It really comes down to you. And so there's about, what do we got, Gilda? What, about 120 people here, right? Okay? So this is going to be a fun exercise. It's called the what level exercise. And so we've transitioned from morning, now we're in the afternoon. So I'm going to say good afternoon at a level 6 in terms of energy and enthusiasm. And I want you to respond back to me, good afternoon, at the same level. Does everybody, raise your hand if you got those instructions. Fantastic. Are you ready? Good afternoon. Awesome. Awesome. You guys have been the best group I've had all day. Hey, I know you're the only group I've had all day. All right, let's step it up. Let's play at a level 8. A little bit more energy, a little bit more enthusiasm, and if you want to smile this time, you have my permission. Is everybody ready? Good afternoon. Awesome, awesome, fantastic. All right, full energy, full enthusiasm. I want you to give it every single thing you've got. In fact, look to your person to your left and the person to your right. We're going to play at a level 10. On the count of 3, is everybody ready? Is everybody ready? Good afternoon! Yay! The crowd goes wild. Fantastic. Give yourselves a round of applause. Awesome. Have a seat. Have a seat. Fantastic. So here's a question for you. First, we played at a level 6. Then we played at a level 10. First a 6, and then a 10. So here's the question I have for you. Be honest with yourself. See, we only get to grow if we're honest with ourselves. Over the last 30 days, as you've been showing up in your business, what level have you been playing at? What level have you been playing at in terms of making the phone calls? In terms of what level have you been playing at as a boss? How you are with your employees? What level have you been playing at as far as making your phone calls? Following up with your customers? Now here's the nice thing about in a room like this. There's a lot of you that are playing at a level 10 all the time, right? Yes or yes? You bet. You bet. And so if you're like me, where you play at a high level like that, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes there's other areas of our life that suffer. And the nice thing I like about this what level exercise is this. Let me ask it a different way. Over the last 30 days, as you've been showing up in the relationships that are important to you, if you're married, your spouse or significant other, if you have kids, your children, what level have you been playing at? Be honest. What about your health? What level over the last 30 days have you been playing at in terms of your health? See, I know this. Sometimes it's just a struggle, right? Sometimes we may be performing very high in one area, and another area we struggle. And if that's you in here, I want you to know that I can relate. See, I gave a talk to a group of realtors back on August 24th of last year. And at the time, I was really having a major issue in one of the most significant relationships in my life. And I remember giving this talk, and I came to the what level exercise, and we played a level 10. I said, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how many of you have been showing up to work? And everybody said great. And I was feeling really good because I was playing at a very high level in my work. I was playing at a very high level with golf. I was playing at a very high level in working out. I was playing at a very high level in smoking cigars. But when I said to that audience that day, over the last 30 days, what level have you been playing at in the relationships that are the most important to you? My heart dropped. Because I was playing at about a level 1 with my wife, who I'd been married with for 17 years. And so I want you to know, if you're here today, and maybe you're playing at a high level in other areas, maybe you're not playing at a high level in other important areas. Maybe you're scoring low in every area, and you're just looking for an opportunity to do it differently. And I want to let you know right now, and ask yourself this question honestly, who determines what level you play at? That's right. It's you. And I got great news for you. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. Isn't that exciting? I don't want you to leave here today empty-handed. I don't want you to leave here without a definite plan for what you're going to do. I want you to find someone. Maybe you came here with them. Maybe you met them over lunch today. But don't leave here without connecting with another individual and saying, you know what? When John was talking, I just need somebody to talk to. Make that connection. It could be the best thing that you've ever done. And I want you to know that the fact that you're here today says a lot about you. See, you could have been anywhere else for the last hour. You could have been anywhere else for the last 2 hours that we've been here total. But you chose to be here. Think about it. There are plenty of other people that could have been here, but you chose to invest time into yourself. And for that, I give you a round of applause. So, on the back table back there, a couple of things. For those of you that already put your card back there with Mark, I'll make sure you get the extra book. Well, I'm going to raffle off the other books, and I will, if you stick around, we'll do it live if Gilda's okay with that. If not, we'll raffle them off, and I'll mail the books to you. In fact, anyone that wants one of those books, if you want one, okay, I'm going to raffle off the free ones. If you want to buy a book, you can also do that as well, and I'll take them back to my office and have Eric sign them for you. Next is there's a sign-up sheet back there. And if you want a free one-on-one coaching session with me, okay, I've only got a few spots left over the next couple of weeks. But if you want a free coaching session with me, go ahead and put your name, phone number, and email address in there, and Mark will get back to you and schedule up an appointment. If you need to get a hold of me for any reason, you can do that by going to my website at johnpyron.com, or you can text or email me on my cell phone at 916-765-2596, or you can email me at jpyron@johnpyron.com. You guys have been a phenomenal audience. Is there any questions? We've got about 5 minutes left. Is there any questions that anybody has? All right. Okay. That's the end of that. Wow. Let's see here. Stop.